Welcome to ADHD TV, the video podcast on all things related to ADD and ADHD. And now, here's your host, Dr. Kenny Handelman.
Hi, it's Dr. Kenny Handelman here for ADHD TV, and I'm here in Boston for an ADHD conference, and it's my pleasure to interview Dr. Rory Stern today. He's a psychologist who's got expertise in ADHD and runs a website and newsletter and other information that we'll share with you later. Rory, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure to be here, Kenny. Let me just correct one dirty term. I'm trained as a psychologist, but I'm not licensed. I don't practice. I have to be careful with how I use that. Consider myself more of the coaching frame because I'm more action-oriented, and I like to move forward with the positive focus on ADHD.
Excellent. And Rory and I met because he runs a website called thetruthbehindadhd.com, and I wonder if you'd be willing to share what that means. What do you mean by the truth behind ADHD, and what's your message?
You know, that's a really good question, because when I came up with that, I just wanted something that stood out a little bit for me, because the truth at the time when I was becoming a therapist had a lot to do with my clients who were coming in and had a lot of bad information, who weren't really getting access to the kind of information that we talk about now with our clients. There's a lot of misperception, miscommunication. A lot of the myths are what persisted. So I wanted to talk about the truth. What are we really looking at when we talk about ADHD? Not just a deficit or a disorder, but what is it like to live with it? What is it like to struggle with? Are people without ADHD not struggling with things? It's a lot of stuff like that when I say the truth, because again, there's just so much poor information out there, I think.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues is that a lot of times people, we were talking about this earlier, people will go to the doctor, get a prescription, 10 minutes with the pediatrician. There's little information, little discussion, and not much treatment beyond a prescription, and that's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that, because that's what it started. I actually started The Truth Behind ADHD with a 7-part mini course that I called The 7 Dirty Little Secrets, which I've since taken down. But a lot of it was educating people about, well, especially here in America, what does the medical system have to do with the diagnosis? How is that diagnosis made? One of the tips I shared with people was that here in America, you have to make a diagnosis before you ever get reimbursed. How does that work? So now you're forcing a diagnosis to come a little sooner than it really should. And we know with ADHD that it's not always cut and dry. It takes a little bit of time, and you can't just do that in a 45-minute session and then write your little script and pass it out and say, okay, here, take these pills, everything will be great. Not that I suggest that that's what works or doesn't work, but it was things like that, identifying at what really is going on. And I've mentioned to you before, I tend to focus a lot on what I call the root cause. Not the root cause of ADHD, but what is the root cause of the behavior that we see that might be related to ADHD? Are there problems going on in the environment? A lot of that being the truth behind ADHD is that we need to look well beyond just the diagnosis and the person. We need to look at the environmental factors, societal factors, what's going on in that person's life that's influencing and or exacerbating the symptoms. So that, to me, is what started with the truth.
That's great. It's interesting because as a Canadian physician, I have the luxury of being able to take 2-3 appointments or a bit longer to establish a diagnosis. Sometimes it's quicker, and sometimes it takes longer. It can be complicated, but I don't have those reimbursement issues, and that's, I guess, a bit of a luxury of working in Canada as a physician, whereas you guys have all this insurance stuff. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Do you want to share a tip or a strategy or a particular nugget that may be helpful to people, maybe even just questions they should be asking their doctors or therapists, something that may help them when they go back to understand a bit more behind ADHD and take a broader perspective that would help them out?
Sure. Putting on the spot like this, I'm going, oh God, what am I going to come up with right now? Honestly, the biggest thing when you mention question is I really like to encourage people to say, what else might it be? What else might be going on? Like, let's look past, okay, is this ADHD? Is it not? I want you to say, okay, well, great, maybe this is an ADHD characteristic, but what else might it be? What else might be contributing to it? What else might be causing it? Again, looking at these factors that influence and exacerbate things. We know ADHD is a very, very complex condition, and we really need to unwrap that a little bit. Your talk of unwrapping the gift of ADD, we really do need to look past just the cut and dry, black and white, is it a symptom, is it not, and look at what is going on. So think about, okay, maybe it is ADHD, but what if it's not? And how is that influencing what you're seeing as a result?
Excellent, excellent. So I think that gives you a lot to think about, and certainly talk to your doctor and your therapist about, if you're fortunate enough to have a therapist as well, because some aspects or some symptoms may be directly related to ADHD and some may be related to other things. And by using different strategies and different approaches, you may be able to function a lot better. So this is fun. We're standing on a street corner in Boston. You can probably hear traffic and see people walking around us. We're just got a camcorder set up on a newspaper box.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Just having fun talking about ADD on the street, just taking the opportunities to share this information with you. And this is the beauty of technology here. So Rory, we're going to be working together shortly. You're putting together a series. I wonder if you want to just take a minute and share what that opportunity is about.
Yeah, it's going to be called the ADHD Family Summit. And for me, over the last year, I've always thought about including the family and how it tends to, here and again in America, the medical system, we tend to, in many cases, point the finger at an identified patient and we blame that person, and it's very isolating. And it's always, how do I get my kid to do this, and how do I explain the differences to my other kids, and why do they do that? And I want to take that emphasis and focus off of the identified patient, the isolating that individual, and focus on the family, because we know this really is a family affair. Everybody is affected, and if we all get on board, we all get involved, we all support one another, I think you're going to find a lot more success in life. I'd say I know, but there are a lot of other factors that go on in terms of the family and influence and support. So we're going to look at this from a very family systems perspective, and all I mean by that is we're taking everybody in the family, we're going to arm people with a lot of information and strategies, and we're going to reach a lot of people and make a difference. That's the goal here, and it's great to have you involved.
Yeah.
To get your free access to the ADHD Family Summit, visit www.adhd.tv and go to episode number 7 for your VIP ADHD TV link.
Thank you. So I'm excited. This video is being recorded in March 2009 on the streets of Boston, and this will be running hopefully online. We'll have it up around April. I don't know. You'll see. Well, when it's up, you'll see it. And we'll have a link on this ADHD TV episode where you can go find out more about this series to learn more information that can literally change your family's life around ADHD. So, Rory, any final comments or thoughts?
Pleasure to be out here on the streets of Boston. You have to forgive me if I'm a little tongue-tied. It's amazing to be in this city, just on the street corner talking like this. So thank you for this opportunity to connect with you. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to sharing the stage with you soon.
Great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Once again, to get your free access to the ADHD Family Summit, just go to adhd.tv and find episode number 7 for your link so you can get free access. And do it now, because the event's starting soon.
You've been watching ADHD TV, the video podcast found at www.adhd.tv. If you're a subscriber, we want to thank you for being one. If you would like to be updated automatically with new videos as they're released, we encourage you to subscribe to the videos via podcast. iPod users can find our show in the iTunes podcast directory by searching for ADHD TV. You can find other subscription options at www.adhd.tv. To learn how to subscribe, visit our online tutorial at adhd.tv.